record this and I'll get back into it. So I'm going to go back to the share screen and back to the lesson. Okay, so these are all fairness criteria. Now, it should be the case that if somebody has a majority, now majority is defined as being more than 50%. Okay, that means in the Georgia elections back in November, since the Loeffler and Warnock, neither of them had 50%. They had the most in their, they were the two top vote getters, Loeffler and Warnock, but neither of them had 50%. That's why they had to have another election in Georgia. And similarly with Perdue and Ossoff, they had to have another election because Perdue only had 49.7% of the vote. And in Georgia, it's required that you have over 50%. They require a greater than 50% majority, or else they have to have a whole nother election, which is what they did on Wednesday. Okay, so that's just not all states are like that. In Washington state, if there's a senatorial race and one person gets 49.7 and the other has 47.9, the person with the 49.7% wins. You don't need a majority in Washington to win an election, but in Georgia, they did. That's why they had to have a whole new election. We're going to talk about that more. There's another thing called the independence of irrelevant alternatives. And by the way, there's an entire lesson on these criterion. Okay, so this is just an introduction, so you're getting an idea of what these are about. So that is, if a non-winning choice is removed for the ballot, it should not change the winner of the election. So, a lot of times there's lots of people in the race. If they pull out one of the candidates, then that shouldn't mean then a new person shouldn't win. If a loser was removed, that means you shouldn't get a new winner if one of the losers is pulled out. So that's if choice A is preferred over choice B, introducing or removing a choice C should not cause B to be preferred over A. That is, if I want A, then B, and then C, and I remove C, it shouldn't move B up and A down, right? A and B should still stay in that. Okay, so no, you don't. Someone asked if you need to be taking notes. No, you don't need to take notes right now. I'm just giving you an overview so you get an idea. And here's the primary reason. I want you to read this part. In Arrow's impossibility theorem, this is Kenneth Arrow as a politician, mathematical politician. It is not possible for any voting method to satisfy all of these fairness criteria. That means no matter what, all the voting methods we're going to look at, we're going to look at several, all of them have some flaw about them. Every voting method has a flaw. That is, nothing would be completely and perfectly considered fair ever. And that is an accepted notion in voting theory. We know we're trying to get, we want to have a method that has the least violations of the fairness criteria, the most fair, or the least unfair, really, okay? So one movement that's happening in this country, and this is happening, is states are going to what are called preference schedules, okay? This has been going on in Maine for quite a while, but there's new states, there's Arkansas has used the preference schedules, and Colorado, there's states all over. I'll show you, you'll see. We have an article that you'll read that shows you that all these other states are using it, and more states are considering adopting it. And it's blue states and red states, both sides. It's being encouraged by a group called the Fair Vote Initiative. I think it's Fair Vote Initiative, and it is bipartisan, and they just think it's better for us. I think it's a better system than the one we have now. But anyway, I want to show you what a preference schedule looks like. So consider this, I am going to go into this a little bit. Consider that you know that a group of fifth graders that they have their favorite superheroes are Spider-Man, Elastigirl, and Iron Man, you can have them rank these 3 superheroes in order of their top pick to their last, and then tally the results in a table with the number of the given ballots listed in the top row using S, E, and I to represent each superhero. So this is what that means, is when a person votes for their favorite superhero, one ballot, one ballot, one person might say, oh, I want Spider-Man, then Elastigirl, and then Iron Man. And this is just on one ballot. Their number one choice is Spider-Man, the number 2 choice is Elastigirl, and the number 3 choice is Iron Man. Now, that means this 3 up here means 3 people had ballots that put Spider-Man first, Elastigirl second, and Iron Man third. This 6 means 6 people had ballots that said, oh, I like Spider-Man best, then Iron Man next, and then Elastigirl next. Okay. And then 8 people picked Elastigirl first, Spider-Man second, and Iron Man third. And so on. So this is, each person they ordered their ballots. Now that's on a preference schedule. And by the way, there's a little something you need to know. On a preference schedule, you don't have to pick the first, second, and third. If you're going to vote, you can just vote for one and pick your favorite and let the other ones, ignore the other ones. Okay, so the idea here is, I want to just take a little look at this. In the plurality method, the greatest number of first place votes wins. This is called plurality, and that's what we're all used to. Most of you are very used to the plurality method. That's the common method. And you don't need, notice it says a greater than 50% majority is not needed. So let's look at this. How many people put Spider-Man first? Anybody?
9.
9 people did. 3 people put Spider-Man first on Spider-Man, Elastigirl, Iron Man, and then 6 said Spider-Man, Iron Man, Elastigirl. So there's 9 people, exactly. And then, so now everybody in unison, you can dismute. How many people picked Elastigirl first?
8.
8 and the 4. So how many?
12.
12. Does that make sense to everybody? And then how many people picked Iron Man?
10.
10. Okay, so 9 to 12 to 10. Who would win if you did plurality then? Who got the most first place votes?
Elastigirl.
Elastigirl, right? So for most of us in our lives, we've kind of been going along with this plurality method. That makes sense. Most people put Elastigirl first. She's the number 1 vote getter. Well, that would not happen in Georgia. That would not happen in Maine. That would not happen in Arkansas. There's many states that wouldn't happen in. What would happen is, as soon as they count this up and they say, hey, Spider-Man only got 9 votes, Elastigirl got 12, and Iron Man got 10. And they go, hey, but Elastigirl and Iron Man had the most votes. If we eliminate Spider-Man and we remove those votes of Spider-Man, Elastigirl would have gotten 3 more first place votes and Iron Man would have had 6. So that would have been 12 plus 3 for Elastigirl and 10 plus 6 for Iron Man. And Iron Man would have won if this was Maine. If you were doing a vote in Maine, they removed the lowest first place vote getter and they moved the others up. Because Elastigirl was first on 12, but second only on 3. Iron Man was first on 10, but second on 6. So he would win. Iron Man would win if you did what's called the instant runoff. So there's these are the different methods we're going to talk about. Plurality, instant runoff, Condorcet, where it's all head-to-head races, board account method, we'll look at that, Copeland's method, and approval voting, which is a total different kind of ballot. Approval ballots are basically saying, well, I wouldn't mind Elastigirl and Iron Man, but I don't want Spider-Man on my, I wouldn't want Spider-Man, or yeah, I could live with Elastigirl and Spider-Man, but I don't want Iron Man. So that's approval voting, and that's where you just check off who you're willing to have be whatever, you know. And so basically it's saying, yeah, this is a group of people that are acceptable, and then this is a group that isn't acceptable to me. And that's what approval voting is about. Okay, so these are valuable depending on the circumstances we're in. I mean, that might be a good thing if you're electing board members for a certain company or something, the approval voting. So we use these in different contexts. So as we go through that, you'll see that. So I'm gonna now go to, again, if people, I'm not sure if new people have come in, so I think we have a couple more people. Just to remind you, this session is being recorded. And if you do not wish for your picture or name to be seen by others, you may shut off your video and use an alias name. Also, this is there's two Math 107 classes in here. So you may not want to be exposed to someone in the other 107 class. So anyway, now let's take a look. Let's take a look at a sample and actually do some, I'm going to follow through on what this is. So we're going to practice some of these things. I'm going to show you how they actually work. So did anyone win oh, I didn't finish this question. Did anyone win a majority of votes in this election? Or was there only a plurality winner? So that's a question here. So let's look. A won 20 votes, right? I'm just going to jot that down. A got 20 first place votes. What else happened? B got 15, right? And C got 19. Now, this, if you add these up, you'll know how many votes there were total. So 11 and 9 is 20, 8 and 7 is 15, that makes 35, and 7 is 42, and 12 is 54. There are 54 ballots, right? That means if you take half of 54, that's 27, you have to have more than 27 votes to get a majority. So clearly, nobody got a majority. There is no majority winner. So the answer to the first part is no, no one had a majority of votes, but the plurality winner would have been A. Does that make sense? No, no majority vote, but A is the plurality winner. Now, voting reform is going on in lots of places, and I will say this about voting reform in general. Often, it's the people who lose the election that want to reform how the vote goes. It's very common. If you have a group that loses an election, they want to see, how can we make that different? How could it have been that I won the election? It's very common. It's not always the way it is. There are some groups that are committed to fair voting and democracy, and they also make proposals too. But sometimes it's just one party. They're the party that lost. The Democratic Party lost in one state by one voting method, so they'll propose, hey, if we'd have changed it, we would have won. Let's see what we can, or for several times they say, over and over, we've been losing this way. If we changed it, we'd have a different method. Well, it usually doesn't occur. That usually isn't successful because the people who won are in office, and so they usually are against it. a change since the way it was got them in office. But anyway, this says who wins the instant runoff voting method. Now, this method is what I want to introduce to you. This is kind of the what is used. This is what's being used. It's called instant runoff or instant runoff voting method, also known as RCV. And I'll talk about that later. This is IRV or CRV, instant runoff voting, or this is a ranking where you rank the voters. That's ranked order voting. And this is instant runoff voting. So here's how instant runoff voting method works. And this is what I want you to, we'll spend most of the time on this. Now I need to erase this. Here is instant runoff voting then. Oh, I'm just using this anyway. So instant runoff says take the last place, you remove or the last place from the, it's called the schedule, from the schedule. So let's scroll up. And who is last place? A was first because A had 20, B had 15, and C had 19. So B is last place, right? So what you do is you come up here, you take B and we say, I'm going to eliminate B here and here and here and here. It really doesn't make much difference down there. But what happens is then C moves up to here. A moves up to here, C moves up to here, C moves up to here, and A moves up to here, and A moves up to here. And so now what happens is in instant runoff, you can't just, you don't get a winner until you remove that last place, until you get more than 50%. So currently A only had 20. But now, how many does A have? A has 11, 9, and 8. So in this case, A has 28 votes for first place. And C has, I think, 27, right? 7 and 12 is 19. Oh, 26. And 7 is 26. So C has 26. So A is also the instant runoff voting or RCV winner. Okay. Does that make sense? Now I'm going to do another method. This is, I'll just do one more method for, I'll do two more methods. We've got quite a bit of time. Good. So is there a Condorcet winner? Now, Condorcet means you have to do, everybody has to go head to head. So that means you have to compare A compared to B, and A compared to C, and A compared to, or sorry, not A, that would be B compared to C. Really, I should say A versus B, A versus C, and B versus C. So A to B, if you just look at A and B, A has 11 here, and C, I should erase all those. Okay, so A has right here, A compared to B, A compared to B. Here's A and B, A and B, A and B, A and B. So let's count up. How many times did A beat B? A beat B here for 11. So I'll just put that there first. A had 11 plus here 9, and then 7. 11, 9, and 7. 11 plus 9 plus 7. And then what did B have? Then B, that's 27. That's a total of 27 for A. So that must mean that's 27. So B must have gotten 27 also. So that means B had 8 here plus 7 plus 12. And that's 8 plus 7 plus 12, which is also 27. If there's a tie ever in Condorcet, there is no Condorcet winner. For A to be a winner, they have to beat B and C both times. Okay, it's a tie. So basically, they would get a half a point each. Now, we'll come back to that. We can stop right there. There's no Condorcet winner because there's a tie. And you have to beat everybody else head to head. Now, does A beat, and we'll talk about A beating C in a minute, because we do the same thing for Copeland. But the Borda count total. Now let's talk about what a Borda count is. Now this is a new method. And there's be a lesson on there. I'm just giving you a quick example of it. The Borda count total for candidate A. So here's how Borda count works. Anytime you get first place, if there's 3 candidates, then the first place candidate gets a 3-point value, the second gets 2, and the third gets 1. So it goes 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1 every time. So let's look at A. A got 11 votes for 3 points, 9 votes for 3 points. A, though, got only 8 votes, 8 2-point votes. They got 7 1-point votes, right? They got 7 2-point votes, and they got 12 1-point votes. So we'll go through with all those A's and we'll look at those. It was 11 and 9 both got 3. So for A, they got 11 first place votes plus 9 first place votes, right? 3 points for each of those votes. Then they got 8 second place votes in the next one, 8 times 2. And then the next one is 7 times 1, 7 third place votes. And then 7 second place and 12 third place. So I'll go 7 times 2 and 12 times 1. 7 times 2 and 12 times 1. So we'll multiply every ballot you get points for. Oops. So this would be 33 plus 27 plus 16 plus 7 plus 14 plus 12. If you add all those up, 33 plus 27 is 60. Plus 16 makes 76, plus 7 is 83, plus 14 is 97, plus 12 is 109. So they get 109 points if they do the Borda count method. Now, in order to find a Borda count winner, you'd have to do that for every candidate. B would have 11 2-point votes, 9 1-point vote, 8 3-point votes, 7 3-point votes, 7 1-point votes, and 12 2-point votes. And then you do C. C has 11 1-pointers, 9 2-pointers, 8 1-pointers, 7 3-pointers, 7 1-pointers, and 12 3-pointers. Oops, sorry, 7 3-pointers and 12 3-pointers. So you'd have to add all those up to find the Borda count winner, which I'm not going to do right now. Now, this other one, Copeland method, is very similar to Condorcet, but on that one, you just count points. So you do all the head-to-head, all the one-on-one battles. So that means we're going to do A versus B, which we already said that was 27 for A and 27 for B. So they each get, A gets a half a point and B gets a half a point for that. And then we'll do A versus C. So let's go up above and we'll do A. Every time we see A versus C. So A got 11 votes there, 11 votes where they beat C here, and 9, so that's 20 votes for A so far. And then here A beats C again, so that is that's 28 votes total already, right? Just comparing A and C. And now C beat A 7 times, C beat A 7 times here, and C beat A 12 times here. So all these are where C beat C, oops. All this is where C beat A, right? Every time. So 12 and 14 is 26, and this is 20 and 8 is 28. So A beat C 28 times. So A got 28 votes, one-on-one wins over C, who only got 26. So C doesn't get any points, and A gets 1 for that. And now we have to do B versus C. So B versus C, we'll have to clear all that. Oops. So B versus C. B beats C here, 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 and that's all. So B beats C 11 plus 8, which is 19, plus 7, which is 26. So if we go down here, B would have gotten 26. Since there's 54 votes, we know that C would have to have 28. So B would get 0 here, and C would get 1 here. So let's look at A's total points. A got a half against B. A got 1 point against C, so that's 1.5 points. B got a half against A, and then 0 against C, so B only got a half. C got 0 here, 0 against A, plus but 1, so C got 1. So according to the Copeland method, A would be the winner. A would be the winner according to the Copeland method, because they got the most. You count a half a point for a tie and 1 point. Now notice that if you're going to be the Condorcet winner, you have to win every one of those head-to-head battles. It's got to be, A would have to be 1-0, 1-0 in both of those. Okay, so that's the base. Those are the basic approaches. We didn't do an approval voting, but that's pretty simple. And these, again, I'm just giving you a basic introduction. The board account is a little more complicated, and I definitely wanted to do the board account with you for A. Actually, we have quite a bit of time. I'm going to do the board account for B and C, and I'll do it fairly quickly. I'll just jot it down here, because this would be, you get 2 points for B here, 1, 3, 3, 1, and 2. So this would be 11 times 2. B here gets 22. B here is 9 times 1. B here is 8 times 3. B here is 7 times 3. B here is 7 times 1. And B here is 12 times 2, which is 24. So if we add those up, I can add those fairly quickly. The total board account for that would be 31 and 24 is 55, 76, 83, and 107. So he's 107 for B on the board account. I'll scroll down here. And okay, so this was A. B is 107. And now let's do C. So I'll erase all those for B. Okay, now let's do C. So C is going to get 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3. So this is 11 times 1, 9 times 2, 8 times 1, 7 times 2, 7 times 3, and 12 times 3. So if we add those up, 11 and 18 is 29, makes 37, and 14 makes 51, 21 makes 72, and 36 makes 108. And so C got 108. So notice that A won here. A did not win the Condorcet, but that's okay. A won almost every way. So it looks like A is probably would be the winner no matter what method you picked, unless you had to have a Condorcet winner, but you don't have to necessarily. In other words, this particular election, really A won in almost every possible way, no matter what way you configured it. That's not going to be the case a lot of times, as you will see. Okay, so enough of that. I wanted to go over one last thing now. Okay, are there any questions? I'm gonna stop my share for a second just because I wanna see. Does anybody want to ask me anything before we go on?
I'm good.
Nope.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's I'm glad you're all here. Let's continue then. I'll go back to the sharing screen now. This I'm going to introduce what is probably the hardest part of the week is going to be really writing kind of a response to this new method, the rank order voting, that method, which I will. I'm going to open up a. Let's see. Oh, that's not it. Where's my rank order? Oh, here it is. Fair Vote. Yeah, there's an organization called Fair Vote, and they're largely they are instrumental in tracking and seeing, okay, how are different places voting. So you can see here this rank, it's called ranked choice voting, RCV, which is the IRV, the instant runoff, which we did. We did that. Example 2 was instant runoff. Look at all the places. This is where California, they use it on local elections, but not on the presidential. Oregon used it for local elections too. But look at Nevada, that was in the presidential primaries, they used rank RCV. Wyoming, see, Wyoming is a very red state. It uses rank choice voting also. So you have a red state with Wyoming and a blue state like California and Oregon, and they're using different things. And there's Kansas, they're a red state too. So you can see they're all kind of all over the map. Texas is a red state, RCV. So this isn't like RCV is just for, favors one or the other. This Fair Vote is trying to say, let's see if we can't convince people that this ranked choice voting system and using a preference schedule, the preference ballot might be better for us. Maine uses it it's statewide, for all statewide congressional and state offices. Now, okay, look, it's all over. Oh, ranked ballots for military and overseas voting. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Same thing here. Look at all that for these states. Okay. One thing ranked choice voting does is it's called instant runoff also. What it will do is it allows us, like the Georgia runoff that just happened on the 6th, they would not have needed that had they used ranked choice voting. I'll show you how. So this is what a regular ballot looks like. Oh, this is a primary. This was I think this is North Carolina. This is in North Carolina, a primary ballot where it was just only Republicans, okay? And for the U.S. Senate and so on. So this is normal. All you do is fill in the one mark, whoever you want. If you're a Republican, if you're a registered Republican, you're going to vote for your favorite, and you just put a black. And this is how we do it in Washington, right? You just put a black dot on the one person you want. That's how a regular ballot works. This is a plurality ballot. You don't have to have a majority because there's multiple candidates. Now, this is a ballot that's for the state of Maine. This is a picture of their ballot right here. Shoot. Just a second. So their ballot says this. To vote, fill in the oval like this, blacken it in. To rank your candidate choices, fill in the oval. In the first column for your first choice candidate, in the second column for your second choice candidate, and so on. It says continue until you have ranked as many or as few candidates as you liked. That means if you wanted Rocky de la Fuente, if you were in Maine, you could have voted for Rocky and put him first, okay? And you might have wanted Howard Hawkins second. So you could have said, here's my number 1 and here's my number 2. You could do that. You could say, okay, this is my number 1 choice and there's my number 2 choice, and I don't want anybody else. I don't care about them, right? And some people might have done that. I would imagine there's quite a number of people who probably did something like that. And maybe they say libertarian because they say we just don't like those Republicans and Democrats. Let's get rid of them, So that's an attitude out there. There are some people who might say, oh, well, I really want Donald Trump to be my president. If he's not, I'm going to pick Jorgensen to be second. And then I want the Alliance Party third, and I don't want to vote for anybody else. Okay. Or you could say, oh, I just want Joseph Biden. He would be my first choice. And then the Green Independent, that's my second choice. And I don't have to vote for anybody else. Or you could just say, I'm just going to vote for the Libertarian, and that's it. I'm not voting for anybody else. I just want to pick number 1 because I don't really know these other people very well, and that's all. So that is what ranked choice voting, or really it's called a preference ballot. The preference ballot looks like when you have ranked choice voting. And if you want, you can fill in all the way down to your 6th choice if you want, but most people don't do that. Anyway, so that's what that ranked choice voting looks like. And the idea is, if some people, they don't think that like Jorgensen is there. They're quite sure Jorgensen is not going to win. Okay. Jorgensen just hardly has a chance. And they might feel like, why would I vote for Jorgensen? Because that's my throwaway vote. I'll take Jorgensen first and then Biden second. If they didn't have this option, a lot of people that would have voted for Jorgensen might have just voted for Biden instead because they think they're throwing away their vote. So this is one of the reasons why there's some voting changes going on, is because, well, there's a lot of chance that a third party might get more votes and might be a bigger influence in the election if they can rank them and say, because so many people would say, well, I know that Jorgensen doesn't have a chance, so why vote for her in the first place? I'm going to just vote for Biden instead because I think I'm throwing away vote. So this is a way, the ranked choice is a way to vote for a third party, a candidate who you may not think will win, but you still want to express your opinion that they're still my favorite. You want to be able to say they're my favorite candidate, even though they'll probably be removed. Then at least your second choice could get a vote. Okay, so I hope all that makes sense in the context of That's what you're going to be talking about. That's what we'll be talking about in the second assignment. So you have um, you have three, really four assignments this week. You've got the exercises and there's videos. So all this is done in videos. I've got videos out there and I do a lot more careful analysis of each of those methods. I show you very thoroughly how to do them. And so there's other videos too with the author of your book, David Lippman, has some, and then there's also videos by Mr. Sousa, who has a lot of videos. He's professional math videos. So those, you'll get a lot of instruction that way. Then you're going to have a paper. You have to write, well, not really a paper, but you have to answer short answers. There's 2 essays, and one will be, what do you think of ranked choice voting? And that's why I gave you this. I have a whole video on that as well. And it's important to keep in mind that to vote in ranked choice voting, you don't have to vote for every single slot. You can just vote for your favorite person, and you don't have to. One of the criticisms of ranked choice voting is, hey, you have to know all the candidates. Well, you really don't. You do have to have a favorite, but that's with anything. With any time you vote, you have to have a preference or not vote at all. But the ballot is a little longer. The advantage of ranked choice voting would have allowed, I'll show you what happened in, I'm going to have to go back to that. If you take a look, this is what happened in Georgia. This is a big deal in Georgia, and I'll point this out. In Georgia, this was the ballot in November. The ballot in December, or in January, just last Wednesday, did not have Shane Hazel. So this is what happened on November 3rd. David Perdue had 49.7% of the votes. Jon Ossoff had 47.9% of the votes, and Shane Hazel had 2.3% of the votes. Now, Georgia requires you to have a majority, not just the most. You have to have over 50%. If they'd had a preference schedule, if even 0.4%, a small portion of these people had put David Perdue as second, then their votes, when they remove them because they're last place, when their votes are counted, if they had David Perdue as second place, he would have gone over 50% and he would have won that election. It's fairly likely, because libertarians kind of split between Republican Democrats. They're neither. Libertarians like small government, which Republicans like, but libertarians also like a little more social freedom, which Democrats like. So libertarians, they're not one or the other. So it's fairly likely, it's most likely that those libertarians would have split and David Perdue would have won that election had they had a preference schedule. It's very possible. And more importantly, and I mean, that's a historic difference because of the way they have their vote. But also very importantly is they wouldn't have had to have another vote. So the ranked choice voting often eliminates a whole nother election, which is very, very expensive. And so they could have avoided that. Now with Loeffler and Warnock, Loeffler even wouldn't have, there's no evidence that Loeffler probably would have won, when she was going against Ralph Warnock. Neither of them. Warnock, all the Democrats together were 48.4% of the vote, and all the Republicans, where's Loeffler? Yeah, all the Republicans together only added up to 49.4. So that race may have ended up going the same way anyway. We don't know. But anyway, it's very interesting to think about how different voting methods have a very you know, a very big impact on what happens. Having to have an entire another election from November 3rd to January 5th, and just, you know, all the crazy things that happen in between. So that's kind of that's the week in a nutshell. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. If not, we're going to wrap it up. Anybody want to ask any questions? Any questions about just in general what the
More of a comment, but I always thought it was just popular vote, whoever got the most electoral seats won, but I wasn't aware that there was different methods altogether when it came to the.
So yeah, the electoral college is a whole different thing. But so yeah, in a state, well, like you may have noticed, Maine, in Maine, they don't give all the electors to the majority winner in the state, or the popular winner in the state. They give, if for example, Donald Trump did get one vote, one elector from Maine, even though it went Democrat in the presidential race. So it's because a certain area there was enough Republican votes that they got part of them, and that's something that other states do too. I think Arkansas, Nevada, or Nebraska. I think Nebraska does not give all their electoral college votes to the one winner. And that's the electoral college, a lot of people want to get rid of the electoral college. There's hardly anybody who I ever have talked to that thinks that's the best method. It was, it wasn't set up by one party or the other, by the way. The electoral college was very bipartisan. They just thought it was the best way to do it. And it wasn't, electoral college is complicated. Well, it's an odd thing, but anyway, any other questions or comments?
I'm good.
Okay, well, go ahead and if you have more help, by the way, normally I'm in the Math Center on Mondays, but I have a colleague who needed to switch with me. So I'm going to be there tomorrow from 12 to 2. So I'll have to switch my, my hours just changed because anyway, so I'll be in the Math Center tomorrow from 12 to 2. As you work on this and you run into questions, please, again, feel free. I'll share my screen real quickly again and remind you that when you take a look, all these, you can contact me. You can get math help and student success resources in here. I have my information. You can call or text instructor. If you go down here, you can see instructor contact information, or click there to go to the MC4A, the Zoom tutoring room. You can do it there as well. So all these places you can get help, and I'm available. So call me, text me if you want to arrange for a time to get together. Please access me as much as possible. And I'll do a review on Thursday. We'll be doing a review Thursday at 11 and again at 7. Okay. All right. That's all. Thanks you guys for coming, and hopefully we'll see you next Monday, if not before Thursday. Okay. Take care.